everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Janita Spencer with Bags of Goodies. All of you already know about our speaker platform. We are sponsored by Bags, being a grandparent support. When the bags of life get too heavy, we are here. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that work and support grandparents raising grandchildren, as well as grandparents who've been estranged or cut out of their grandchildren's lives. We provide information, resources, connection, support, and most of all, advocacy for change, advocacy for grandparents who are raising their grandchildren. And we are so excited to do another Mother Day special. That time of year comes around, and for some who are estranged, they don't get to see their grandkids. But at the same time, we need to value our unsung heroes, which are grandparents who have stood up and stepped in to take care of their grandchildren while their adult children go through any transition or whatever is happening. It doesn't matter. Everyone needs a village. Everyone needs support. Everyone needs support from community, from family, as well as the government. It is time for change. And that is what our episode is this year for our Mother's Day. It's time for change. I have the pleasure and I am honored to introduce to you to some phenomenal grandparents who are some of those unsung heroes. And we're going to have this session. It's just about 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to ask a few questions, and they're going to help you understand, the viewer, what it is like to raise a grandchild and what it is that most, if not just them, other grandparents need. So I'm going to stop for a moment and I'm going to say welcome to you all again. Welcome to Bags of Goodies. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself. And I'm going to start with Mr. Clifton Wilkins. Let you introduce yourself and tell us about your grandchild.
Yes, I'm Clifton Wilkins. I am raising my granddaughter. She is 13. I got her when she was 6, and she's doing really well. Me and my wife got her, but my wife passed, so now it's just me and her here by ourselves. So I'm a single man raising my granddaughter.
Thank you. And then we have Miss Regina.
There we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Regina. My husband and I are currently raising 2 of our grandchildren. They are 16-year-old twins. We've had them for 9 years, and they are doing amazingly well, learning all the cool things that teenagers get to do. Just went to prom, learning to drive, and those kinds of things. But we are quite blessed to be able to raise them. So,
thank you. And our next grandmama.
Hi, my name is Tanya, and I'm raising 2, girl and boy. I got them in 2019, and so my husband and I are raising them. Their mother passed due to lupus. She had lupus, so maybe this could be some lupus awareness. So she had kidney failure. So I've had them ever since then.
Okay, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you all and I honor you all. And as you already know, prior to us coming on in this recording, there was a set of questions that's going to be asked. Of course, you're not limited to those questions. You may share any additional thing. But one of the things we want the viewer to know is that it is time for change. And you're going to hear me say that quite often. My first question I have for you, and it could be anyone who could share what led you to step in and raise your grandchild, and what transition, what was that truly like? How did that feel? Anyone can answer that.
Well, I guess I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I took my granddaughter when she was 6 because her mother and father both was incarcerated. So they came to us and told us we could either take the child or she could go to foster care, which was not an option. So we decided to take her, and it's been working out pretty good. Some great challenges of her being younger was it's a lot easier when she was 6 than she it is now that she's 13, about to turn 14. It's a lot more stuff to deal with. But I guess we can talk about that later. But right now, it's a lot of difficulties now that I'm doing it by myself because it's a man raising a teenage girl, and I'm learning a lot.
So when you first got her, what was that transition like?
The transition was me and my wife we was by ourselves. We had all the kids grown, so we was able to do and go anywhere we please. Now we got to start over. You got to learn we had to get her in a head start. We had to pick her up from school. We had to change our whole life schedule. And like earlier, the funds are not there for you. They just give you like $100 or something to go buy her some stuff from the store and tell you to go for it. So it was it's really it's not a job that you wanted to do. I did not want to raise her. It was like you supposed to raise your own children like I raised mine. But when you don't have a choice between foster care or you do it, then you got to do it. So I had to change my whole schedule, my work schedule, my sleep schedule, I had to cook every night. We had to make sure food was done every night. Make sure you had to learn the school work. It was just complicated, but the reward is to see her blossoming into a young lady. So that was it's a reward to it if you stick it out.
Yes, yes. Virginia was going to share with us what was your transition.
Yeah, so our grandchildren were 6, almost 7, and we received a knock on the door in the middle of the night that their mother and her husband were going to jail. That was probably the fourth or fifth time the kids were home alone. We had no choice but to go get them, and we were. This was just a couple of nights before Christmas, right before their 7th birthday, and we were pretty caught off guard. I mean, my husband and I had both been raising children for a long time, and we were just about to be empty nesters. We thought for sure, he was almost 60, and we just thought for sure we're fixing to be empty nesters. And here we are starting all over again at that age, getting back in the swing of nightly baths, and there were 2 of them. Everything was double because they're twins. It's a boy and a girl, and back to school, learning this new math, and just all of the things, trying to find childcare, which was, we'll talk about that in a little while, but that was difficult because we were both still working full-time jobs at that time. And that transition was pretty shocking, having to get up and get them on a school bus and be home by a certain time so they were not home alone. And but here we are 9 years later, and they are turning into some wonderful human beings. And they tell us all the time, they do see their parents now, but they tell us all the time that they don't know where they would have been had they been left in that environment, and they are grateful that they are with us. And so that is definitely, I couldn't ask for anything more than that, to be able to be that influence in their lives.
I've heard that. We had another grandparent that talked about getting prepared as to be empty nesters and making plans for travel, and their grandkids actually was in foster care, and they didn't know they had grandkids in foster care until someone from CPS reached out, had found them. But they were saying, instead of, now they still do things, but instead of the plan to go to the Bahamas, they just go to Wilmington Beach. They had to trade the Bahamas waters for the North Carolina waters.
That's right.
You still do, but you just have to do it a little bit different. Yes. Now, Miss Bunch, you are different. How did you get your grandkids, and what was that transition like?
Um, I didn't stop. My transition was different because, um, just to be really honest, my daughter passed in her sleep.
Mm.
So did my regular grandmother day, which I loved doing, was meeting her at Fresenius because she was on dialysis to get her babies, and I would keep them while she did her dialysis. And um, she wasn't there. Skip a little bit. I went there, and they was sitting on the bed with mommy,
Mm.
and I've had them ever since that day.
So when
6,
you got
18,
ready to bring them
19.
home, what was that like when you brought them home? How
It
was the beginning?
we just kept moving. I
Kept
haven't
moving.
stopped. I have not stopped since. It was just I 6, 18, 19. They've been permanently mine. There was no space. There was no time to think. There was no time to prepare, really, to figure out what do I do. It's just keep moving.
Yes, I think I just did a we also have a support group called From Baggage to Blessings. And it's once a month on Thursdays. And the other night, this past Thursday, I had a new grandma that came on, and the first thing she said was, "My daughter passed last week." And hers was a little different. Her daughter had been going through substance abuse for several years, and she had grandson went into foster care and stuff. But at the same time, I think she really found peace with what she had gone through, the back and forth, but the piece was being able to be there for her grandson to get him. They're in their 70s. She was 71 years old. She's very active. She does a lot in the community. She keeps him extremely busy. He has been diagnosed with ADHD, but she shared that she has him in soccer. She has him in swimming. They go to church in activities on the weekend, And I told her, well, that keeps you going too, don't it? At 71, because I mean her spirit was just absolutely beautiful. But I'm going to transition back over to something Mr. Wilkins said with this next question. What are the biggest challenges you face right now? I want you to take a moment, think about it. What are the biggest challenges you face right now, whether it be financially, emotionally, or legally, that people often don't see? Mr. Wilkins, look, I'm gonna turn to you because I know you kind of touched on that a little bit.
First, to Miss Bunch, I'm very sorry about your daughter. Um, for me, girls are moody, and I got to learn how to deal with this moody child. This child here, boy, I want to choke her out. So I got to learn that. I got to learn how to. You can't speak to her Monday and think you can speak to her Tuesday because it ain't gonna work. So it's more learning her ways. I got to learn a way, different. It ain't like it was when I was raising my kids. They was a little bit. My son was easier. This girl here, woo, Lord have mercy. This girl she's something. It's definitely learning her ways. And then the schoolwork is this new math and stuff. She's right. This new math is crazy. Um, and I think that would be it. The learning the different stages of her attitude and that phone. That phone. That I'm telling you, if you want to kill us, take the phone away from her. That's all I got to do. Take that phone. No matter what the situation, take the phone. Kids straighten up.
How old is she now?
13, going on 40.
Yes. I've got 2 or 3 calls from grandparents that need help with their 11, 12, and 13-year-olds. Yes, but this is the thing. People say it's in the norm, Mr. Wilkins, what you're going through. It really is. But as a man, I can understand. But that creates emotions in you, trying to handle and understand. So one of your challenges would be we do have some organizations that one is called The Queen in Me with Jashonda Smith. Another organization is called Pearls. They work with young girls with their behaviors to help them focus on feeling good about themselves. Because at this time, or as a teenager and as a female, I think we 3 ladies can relate. You're kind of going through some changes that sometimes you don't even want to share with your mother or a female, let alone grandpa, But we do have support in that area. So you and I'll talk a little later and we'll talk about it during the week because, yes, she is going through. Does anyone else want to share what is your biggest challenge that you face right now?
Um, Definitely always finances. And you touched on that a little bit earlier, Miss Janita, how the foster families or foster parents receive so much funding. When they go to a family member, doesn't matter what family member it is, they get zilch. And so we have struggled. I mean, there's twins, everything is double. And shoes are not cheap, clothes are not cheap, all these activities that they want to be involved in. We're sitting here now, they're 16, and there's no way to get them a driver's license because we can't afford one insurance, let alone two. And then the weight of that, of course, we carry a lot of guilt because as a grandparent, we're older. We don't have the energy that a parent should have to be able to meet all of the activities they want to go to and time constraints and things. Because even though we're not working full-time jobs, we're running a ministry, we're just not available the way that mamas should be or that daddy should be. And that puts a lot of emotional strain on them because they try to understand, but when you're 16 and you want to be where your friends are and you're not, that's a lot of weight for them, which then creates a lot of weight for us, knowing that we just can't provide for them the way we would like to. So it's a lot.
Can
And
I
I hear
piggyback
that
on that?
constantly.
Can I piggyback on that? I
Yes,
went through the
yes.
foster care training class because I was going to get my granddaughter's sister. And in the foster care training class, I found out that you get paid $870 for one child in foster care. That means if I took my granddaughter and I got her out of foster care, they would have gave me $800. But because I got her they brought her to me, they only give me $181 for her. So if you got three kids, you get around 700, but you get one foster kid, you get eight, and that's where it's not fair. And they give you food stamps too for the child.
Yes, yes, yes. That is what I'm hearing, and that's what I know to be a fact. Not only with the financial support, but I asked the question about emotional and legal. When you are a foster parent, you do get, if your child has any behavior problems, if your child needs speech therapy, if your child needs to see, you get all of that. But you don't get it when you're a family member or a grandparent. And that is time for change. Anybody else want to share before I move on to my next question?
I would say my first in the beginning, because I do have the two, and it's almost like twins, so I can relate with Miss Regina about the two. Everything is double. You get one, and the other one say, well, "Where's mine?" Before I was working, and I could get two pair of shorts, two shirts, or five shirts, and double everything. But number one was my emotions. I
Mm-hmm.
think the past 6 months, and it's been since 2019, my emotions have finally started leveling out a little bit. And now that I haven't worked, I'm doing gig work now. So of course my financial finances have crashed. I don't get nothing financially for them to help me. Um, but now that I feel like I'm starting to see, because the emotions have calmed, and I was terminated from my job. So now it's the finances is starting to kick in. So the finances will be number two for me. And so legally, I did get I figured this all out studying, and I got temporary custody of them. So I did do that part.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Is it helps, and that's why the support group is so important. And the other Thursday, the grandparent I was talking about the emotional. It's still emotional, financial. In fact, all three hit all grandparents in some capacity, in some way, at some time during raising their grandchildren. But a lot of people don't see that. All they see is that you got your family member. or that's you're the grandma, or this is the way it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be with you. There's no other needs, and that's not true. And you're absolutely right, Mr. Wilkins. If you get a child that's a therapeutic child, meaning having some special need, a foster parent can get almost up to $1,200 a month. Can you imagine what you could do with that extra money? It's not a lot, but it's still support that's needed. Absolutely. And the emotional part will always go on because you care. Anyone can speak to this. Have you experienced any barriers when trying, if you ever trying to access resources or benefits or support services for your grandchild? If you have tried, what was the barriers?
Well, I'm a member of the Kinship. I'm a member of Kinship and Tony Crowder. So Miss Bunch, I get $181 a month for my granddaughter. So it's $181 a month per child. So there is some money out there for you if you get in contact with Tony Crowder. He worked for DSS in Raleigh. The barrier was to try to get financial. They give you a Medicaid card. You get that so you can take it to the doctor. But food stamps and stuff, it shouldn't be based on what I make, because what I made was for me. You brought a child into me, and none of us asked for this. This is like you drafted into this. You have to do it, or you love the child because you got to do it. I did not want to do this, but I know that it had to be done. I did what I got to do. But if I could do it, if I would prefer that the mother and the father step up and take care of their own children. But the money I make was for me and my wife. That was to support us. Then you bring in somebody that at the age she is now, her hair costs what they give me for to take care of her. So it is a different. They basically is just saying you got it, and that's it. And they don't care. They don't care about that. But you get a foster kid. I don't care if it is your child, but if they get it out of foster care, you get $800 or more, and all sorts of tutoring programs for them. For the do this, they'll give you one tutoring program, and you got to go through the world to get that. So it's definitely not fair, and I don't know who came up with that concept. Food stamps should be based on the child you brought to me. That's it. You know, you got to feed this child. It should have nothing to do with me. I should have to put none of my personal records on your paperwork because I didn't ask you to bring her. You brought her. So I don't agree with that. And I tell anybody that you ain't got nothing to do with my money. This child.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Because it really costs. It costs for foster children. And when you step up, yes, it's my grandchild. Yes, but it doesn't mean I don't need support or help. Okay. But what you don't understand, and research shows, if you can keep children with family members, it not only creates stability, keeps them in understanding their culture, but it affects their future. Meaning, a lot of times children's behaviors are already just what it is, just growing up as children. But to put them with people they don't even know, they don't connect, there's a whole nother emotional impact. And I say again, research shows that it's better for a child to be with a family member. Okay. So anyone else ever have tried and you just kept running into a barrier?
When I called social security, and I let them know about my daughter, like the second day, and the lady was real short and kind of, I say nasty, because she was like, "Oh, you don't get nothing for the kids." I'm sitting here feel like I'm dying on the inside, and that's all you can tell me. And then I never even got the burial money that you should get. I never even got that.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Excuse me. What you mean you did? Well, did your daughter work? If your daughter worked, you get that money. You need to
She
call
worked.
somebody else. You need to call
Yeah,
somebody
she
else.
worked a little while.
You need to call somebody else because you supposed to get that money. That money is not theirs not to give it to you. You legally can get that money. You talk to the wrong person, call back, talk to somebody else. because you're gonna supposed to get Social Security to them kids turn 18, and that's period. She worked. I don't care if she worked for 1 year. You get that Social Security check. So you need to call somebody else.
And that ties in needing that legal support. Grandparents do need legal support because there's a lot of things we don't know as grandparents what our rights are, and we don't have that support. So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. We're going to take a look at that as well. Okay, Bags is going to take a look at that as well. Anybody else have any particular barriers? Because I want grandparents, you all to know that watch this. You are not alone. Everything that you're going through, everything that you're dealing with, you're not alone. But if you keep it hidden, it can't be helped. What is hidden cannot be helped. I want to ask you all, what kind of support, whether it be from the community or from churches, and I know one of them is churches or the government, would make the biggest difference in your daily life? Just take a moment. What kind of support, you name one or two, would make the biggest difference, whether it be from the community or from maybe churches in your area or from the government, would make the biggest difference for you? Anyone?
So one of the things that I think that the government needs to do, and not in all cases, but especially in the children that we're raising's case, is hold these parents accountable and responsible for the children they brought into this world. They don't visit them. They don't take them to doctor's appointments. None of the hours that are spent caring for these children can ever be compensated for. But they could at least provide for the needs. If you've got money to have your nails done and your hair done and drive a car, you have money that you can put toward caring for your children. So that's my governmental soapbox. Hold them accountable. Figure it out. You can make others be accountable for stuff. You can help them. But for the faith-based, and I will tell you, that's where we have found our greatest support was in church. One of the things, so addiction was a big deal for these children, and the trauma that went along with that has been just long standing for them. One of the things that we did do when they first came to stay with us is we got them into church. We'd already been going, but they started attending every week, Wednesday night, Sundays. And there was a program at our church that is a recovery program. But recovery means life, from life's trauma. It wasn't just about alcohol and drugs. It was about the traumas that had happened, and there was a group for every age. And so they learned early on what those precepts and concepts were to help them work through that trauma. And to this day, they use those whenever, because their mother is now back in their life, and we're doing mediation for visitation and things like that. But the other thing that I think faith-based can do is train the Sunday school workers and the teachers that are in there with these children, because even the kids who haven't left to go live with grandma yet are suffering through a lot of trauma at home sometimes. And so giving them a safe place to land with concepts and precepts that would teach them how to be safe and how to have confidence in themselves, regardless of what might be happening in the house, would be so helpful to these children, so that they are not walking around so deeply wounded and not able to share about that and talk about it. And for the children who have lost a parent. So my husband's middle child, her mother passed away. So we've only been married 13 years. So she passed away. And this child has struggled for many years over losing that parent. So when she was 13, when she lost her mother, that is a deep wound. So we need to address that with the children. On a regular basis, and we can do it at home. We can, as grandparents, I'm sure we're doing that, but they need to hear it in other places too. Have other safe places and safe people that they can lean into, so that they can find that healing and move forward from some of that.
I love that. I love that because there's something that was brought to my attention. Bags does resources and information on our website, bagsgoodlife.org, bagsgoodlife.org. And we call it that because it stands for being a grandparent, support. is a good life. If you get the support, that's the bottom line. If you get the support. And what was brought to my attention in our last meeting, baggage to blessings, and that's the whole thing about our support group, is that we take on a lot of baggage when we take in our grandchildren, and we have to deal with behaviors and deal with school and homework and deal with dating and teenage years and all that. But how do we change it to blessings? And I will tell you, one of the ways to change it to blessings is to be in some type of village of support, be it with other grandparents, be it with the church. I did not realize this because we've been around 6 years, and I was in foster care for 14. But when I met with this last grandparent, she was talking about Al-Anon, which is for substance abuse and alcohol, and she talked about how they helped her and the family. Not necessarily the adult daughter that was going through substance abuse, who wouldn't really do that, but how to educate the 12 steps. And I never thought about the 12 steps helping the family and helping the children. Um, I'm 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 thinking that we have to, as grandparents, if you're raising your grandchildren, have to seek help. You cannot do it alone. With this thing with school, I've heard school come up several times. Bags is getting a large number of schools reaching out, but we have brought on a tutors now, because grandparents have reached out to us and say, I can't help him with this math. I can't help him with this math. But not only that, we have a lot of grandparents now in their 70s and 80s in the way they do things. Now, this is what always get me, because we try to help our grandsons too, because they live with us in their math, and they can tell you they're not doing it right. Well, if you know I'm not doing it right, then you need to know how to do it. You're going to tell me, no, that's not how the teacher do it. You're not doing it right. Well, if you know that. But again, this is why this is so special. This is a Mother's Day special, because you all are mothers in some form of fashion. It's parenting all over again, parenting for the second time. And Bags value you. We do. And I really like that you shared those barriers, because again, if you're watching this, what's hidden can't be helped, and you're not alone. And yes, the government needs to do some changing, holding parents accountable. I've heard that several times. I hear it really a lot from grandparents who've had their grandchildren for several years. Then mom gets out, or dad, and they come and take them away. And they have gotten them to the point where they've gotten set and settled and routine. And then it's okay. Just you come get them. And the grandparents like, this is crazy. Now I've got to start over again because mom has gone back into prison, or mom has got back on her own substance abuse, and now we're starting all over again. It's almost like, I know this, North Carolina grandparents don't have a lot of rights. They really don't. They really don't. I want to go in because we only have a few more minutes, but if you could ask for support, and this I want you to ask from the government, what will be the number one thing? I got a little bit from you about holding the parent accountable. But when it comes to raising your grandchild, what would you ask the government to do or change or do better at? And I'd like to hear from you.
Finances. I know everybody's finances. You've given us a job without no help. You basically giving us no help. So finances would be, the government can pay us like we are truly foster parents, because they are not our children. So we are foster parents. Pay us accordingly and give us the same things that you give the foster parents. They don't know the children. It makes it easier for us because we do know the children, but pay us the same way. Pay us. That for me. If you're gonna do anything for me, because everything else I got it. Just pay me.
Okay.
Pay me the way it is, because after you do it so many years, you got your routine. You just need finances, because it'd be nice that I can pay for more than just her hair to get done. I actually can pay for other things. So financial clothes. She needs school clothes, and then you giving me the same amount that you gave me when she was 3, and now she's 15, 13. And you got that's something to think about. And also people got to understand something. If you got a child like mine, whatever drugs their parents and stuff was on, that's in that child some. So you got to get that. You got to deal with that. You got to deal with all of that kind of stuff, and you don't get no help with that. And and then on top of that, the Kinship group that I'm in, that with Tony Crowder, that Kinship group, that was the best thing that I ever joined, because it made me realize I'm not alone. My case is easy compared to what some of the other people dealing with. I mean, I got one child that is my granddaughter. Some of these people got their cousins, their nieces, and their nephews, or they, like in this Bunch case, it was her daughter passed. That is way worse than what I go through. And some people got little. Now mine was 6 when I got her, but now she's 13, so it's easier. But you got people with 3 and minor kids. So I got it good, but I'm in any kind of group that will let me be in it to talk against the ones that don't got it good.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's what support is. There are some organizations like Bags out there, and the KIA group, which is Kinship, Care, and Action, which Wake County has. Johnson doesn't have one. I'm trying to get into Johnson County to try to get some type of, I did get reached out by, I want to say, Work First program with Johnson County. And they asked Bags, do we have a support group? We didn't at the time, because a lot of times those that do get Work First need someone to talk to. But we need to rally behind the nonprofits and organizations that work with families. If you can't step up, at least step out and help someone who's willing to do so. I believe in that. Anybody want to say, if you could tell a decision maker to do something, what would you tell them to do? Finance for you, 100%. I think everybody probably agree with finance, right? Is it anything else?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of Mr. Wilkins. Don't look at us as just like because we're not foster parents that we don't need finances. I had to change my whole life, my whole family dynamic, because I did not want to go into foster care. So I feel like we put into a position to have to choose, and it's hands down not a question, but they go over here, they're gonna have more finances, a little bit more, but at what cost? What's gonna happen in that house? Those are things that went through my mind, and they just need to make it fair across the board. Grandparents or relatives versus a foster parent getting finances. I just think it should be straight across the board. Yeah.
I agree with you. I will interject and say that if you don't know, it is estimated, which we know is way more, that North Carolina is at 87,000 grandparents raising their grandchildren. And as far as kinship care, meaning aunts, uncles, and the grandparents is in this group, it is 237,000 children being raised by family members. Now, if you take the government and in Wake County, there's over 500 children needing foster care, but at the time, 99, maybe 102 foster parents. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. I know some people will say, well, they should do that. That's the, grandparents supposed to do that. But we all need help. And in fact, when you help grandparents, when you help us, you're really helping you. You really are. And you're helping the school teacher who's having to deal with behaviors. Because sometimes the child is acting out because I'm in a house with somebody I don't even know. You're helping the other individuals in the community who are interacting with our babies, because they're going through a transition. They need to feel whole. Being with family keeps them feeling whole. Oh yeah, they give us a fit too. Yeah, we get problems too. They fuss and we go, but it's not the same, because when they stomp into their room, and they better stomp quietly, they still know when they come back out, that person loved them. They know that. That's my family. It's different than stomping out somebody's room who don't even know me. So I do say that. I do say that. Regina, what would you tell a decision maker that they really need to consider?
Would tell them that they need to provide that support. Financial is huge. Making sure that that child has adequate child care so that the grandparent can work or not have to miss so much work to take them to doctors and things like that. They need to provide that care. Making sure that food stamps, that kind of support is there, not making them jump through a million hoops to get the care that they need. Sometimes that paperwork is absolutely endless. And just like Mr. Wilkins said, we shouldn't have to turn in all of our information just to get a drop of help for that child and then still get told, sorry, you make too much. Buy $20, $50, whatever. Maybe I want to retire someday. And I would do it a million times over for these children. They are worth every bit of it. But you have to understand that you're right. We can't do it alone. When I was doing kinship care and raising my niece and nephews, I worked 3 jobs. I was never home with those children because I couldn't get help from the government. I couldn't get the parents to do anything. So all I could do was keep a roof over their head, and they suffered and they struggled because they didn't have adequate supervision. It could have been different. It could have been a lot different for those kids. So listen to what's being asked. It's not unreasonable. And then make some changes. You have the ability to do that.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Absolutely. Absolutely. I will tell you, we're almost near the end. I want you to just think about a few minutes. I asked you what would you say to the decision makers, but I'm going to change it just a little bit. I want you to say something to a grandparent that got their grandchild or grandchildren unexpectedly, and they are wondering, can I do this? Can I make it? I want each of you to take a few minutes and just share with them and encourage them or let them know what they need to do when they have that doubt. Regina, would you like to go?
Absolutely. To the grandparent out there who wakes up every morning thinking, can I do this for one more day? Absolutely, you can. When that child wraps their arms around you and kisses you on the cheek and tells you how important you are by just saying, I love you, you can do it. It is hard, but it is so worth it. You are raising change makers in this world. By you being who you are and sacrificing what you're sacrificing, you are giving this child a chance to learn, to grow, to be so much more than what they ever thought they could be because you are being there for them with that sacrifice. So pray, cry out to the Lord, find you some support next door to you, knock on your neighbor's door and say, I need you to talk to me. I just need somebody to hear what I'm struggling through. Wipe your tears and go back to it because you have the ability and the strength to do this and to make a difference in that child's life. Thank you for everything you're doing. It is making a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. Miss Bunch?
Okay, I would say just the thought of having that question is your yes. It's enough strength to carry you through anything, any obstacle that may come up, because you will not have a what if. When you have that thought, can I? It's yes, you can. Others have done it, and you can do it. There are resources. You might have to look, ask other people, research, but it's out here. And I know for a fact that when you get in your quiet place with God, He's going to lead you to the right people to help you. I went years before I found bags. And this is the only reason why I'm here, because there's no other way that I would have even want to talk to anybody. But Miss Spencer gave me the courage just because of her smile and her kindness to tell me you can do it. That's all I needed to know, that I could do it. Even when I felt like I couldn't do it. Even since I met her, I felt like I couldn't do it. But I know that if I had a doubt before, it's gone. I know I could do it now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wilkins, what would you say to that grandparent?
I would say when my wife passed away, I was told many by many people, do you want me to take the baby from you? And I said, no. I said, no. I would say to anybody, because mainly men, if you're not going to be 100% dedicated, leave the kid alone. You could just be a problem yourself. You need to take this. It's a serious job. It's a serious job that you got to do, but you got to have the main ingredient. You got to love them. You got to love them first. Love the kid. Love the kid because it's your grandkid, niece, nephew, whatever. Love the kid and realize this is not a short-term job. This is, if the kid is young, you got to stay with it. That ain't where the kid get on your nerves, I just put it back in the system and let the system deal with it. No, this is a full-time investment. And if you're not going to be part of the problem, the solution, then, just get out the way, because they don't need no one in their life to disappoint them again. Because apparently my son and his baby mama disappointed my granddaughter, so I had to do it. So if you're not going to stand up and be a man, then leave the kids alone. And if you're a woman, because my job is to protect them, protect her from even them. Basically, what I'm saying is, I don't got to let you see them, because if you ain't doing them no good, you're not going to see them, because she don't need to be distracted by some crap that you bring into the table. So if you can't do it right, leave it alone. It ain't for the weak. So if you already halfway weak, you're drunk, or you like to still party, this ain't your job. Leave it alone, because you could just make it worse.
Yes, yes. But the key thing you said, you gotta love them.
Gotta love them.
No matter the
Gotta love
situation,
them unconditional.
no matter how they came into your lives. And as grandparents, I want to thank each and every one of you for sharing and being open, because I know there is several grandparents that connect with each and every one of you. Getting back to, as we come to a close, Mr. Wilkins, 2 years ago, we also do Christmas. And it was my first time going to a grandfather who was a single grandfather. He had five in Johnston County. Not only did he have a 3 month old up to an age 10-year-old, but they all tested positive for heroin. And with that, the behavior and unable to sleep and unable to do, he is there, but he could not do it alone. If you are a grandparent and you're feeling lonely, you hear this, because you may hear this on our heart radio. You may see this on our website, bagsgoodlife.org. You may hear this on another form of social media. If you are overwhelmed and you feel like you're about to give up, or if you feel like Mr. Clifton and some have mentioned about sending the children back to the system, that is not the answer. The answer is you stepping up, you staying steadfast. If you know or feel like you can't, then I understand. But make sure you still track them. You still keep in contact. The grandmother I had this last meeting, she knew her grandchildren were in foster care, but she knew each and every foster parent that got them before she did. This right here is serious, you guys. 87,000 grandparents that we know of raising grandchildren. 237,000 children in kinship care. The opioid addiction, alcoholism, incarceration, mental health, it is not and has not gone anywhere. So I'm asking you, family, community, government officials, help these individuals that are really helping you. This is all our future. You may live somewhere else and you may be having a big income, however you are, but that doesn't mean what happens with my grandbaby won't affect your future or your child's future or your grandchild's future. It is time. It is time for change. Again, thank you all. This is Janita Spencer with Bags, being a grandparent support. When the bags of life get too heavy, we are here. Please join our support group on the third Thursday. It's virtual. You can do it from the comfort of your home at 7:30. From baggage to blessings. And that's what we do when we support each other. If you have any questions, check out our website, which is again bagsgoodlife.org. I hope this helps you. Thank you for joining Bags of Goodies. And I hope each and every one of you got goodies because I sure got some goodies here. Listen to these grandmamas and grandpa. This is our Mother's Day special, honoring the unsung heroes, the grandparents that have stepped in. Everyone, I want to thank you. I appreciate you. And we're going to call this a wrap for Bags of Goodies.